Utilities Authority work session. I'd like to remind everyone that there's no actual decisions being made in the work session. So tonight we have with us Mr. Doug Murphy from Duck River Agency.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Members of the board and employees and any public that's here. I always appreciate the opportunity to come talk to you all. I think it's been about a year since I've been here, and I try to get around to all the water systems just to meet you and share it and update you with information on what's going on with Duck River Agency. Mr. Skelton provided you with a memo in your packet of basically what I'm going to be talking about tonight. I also put on the table a set of talking points and some legislation I'm going to talk to you about. Since some of you are new and maybe really don't know about the Duck River Agency and who we are and what we do, I'm going to just give you a little quick history. The Duck River Agency was formed in 1965 by state legislation. It was formed mainly to develop and implement regional water supply projects. That was the goal. It was an economic development support. It was an agency that supported economic development. The main reason it was formed was the big project called the Duck River Project, which was to build 2 reservoirs on the Duck River, Normandy Reservoir and Columbia Reservoir. And we all know Columbia wasn't built, but thank goodness Normandy was finished and completed. In 1972, the agency formed a partnership or an agreement with the water systems, because we had to pay for the water supply portions of those reservoirs. The reservoirs were built for flood control, wastewater assimilation, recreation, and water supply. Congress said if we're going to build these reservoirs, we want the local group to pay for the water supply portion. So formula was figured. We went in there, entered into a 50-year contract with the water systems up and down the Duck River that took water out of the Duck River. And they were to pay a nickel per 1,000 gallons of water sold to pay the debt off that was going to be owed TVA. TVA built the projects through funding through Congress. So that has worked pretty good for 50 years, even though we probably have worked a little bit out of our scope of what the original agreement was. It was, as we worked with the water systems over the 50 years, we've been able to maintain that agreement. But the problem is it's a volunteer agreement. And that agreement started in 1971 and was ended and it was a 50-year agreement. So it was finished in 2021. We were working with the water systems to figure out how we could continue business, how we could keep looking at regional water supply projects and stay in business. We had a difficult time, I'll just put it that way, with all of us reaching agreement. I'm going to tell you, we had 2 workshops prior. One of them was in 2011 and one in 2017, where we asked the water systems and the DRA board to meet to talk about long-term revenue to keep the agency secure. In those meetings, it was about an 80% vote that came out each time to look at going a legislative route and creating revenue for the Duck River Agency. And you can imagine there's turnover, different people come in, different things happen and go, different boards, new members on boards. So in 2021, we had a difficult time getting to an agreement of what terms would look like in a long-term agreement. And it was really, a majority felt like we really need to make this law. We need to have something secure. And so we went into a 3-year extension with the water systems with our nickel per 1,000 gallons of water sold. So if you were here 3 years ago, you may have remembered that. So since then, we have been working with the water systems, and last year we had a bill that we filed in general session to be passed. Well, we had some opposition, and I'll be frank, we got to right to the end of final bill, and we were all being pretty rushed, and probably more rushed than everybody just was not comfortable. And we decided to roll the bill to this next session. And that's what I want to talk to you about tonight. I think it's on your agenda to look at approving a resolution to pass this bill. And I want this to be real informal, so if you have questions, please answer or ask me. The Duck River Agency Board is a 12-member board. All the board is appointed by the governor. Nominations are made to the governor, and the governor makes appointments to our 12-member board. Well, that's good. It's a citizen-based board. We have elected officials on the board. But one of the things that we also have is a Duck River Agency Technical Advisory Committee that's made up of all the water systems. You're either an associate member or a regular member. A regular member has a vote on the Duck River Agency Technical Advisory Committee, and I'm going to shorten that and call it DRAGTEC. And the regular members are the ones that contribute money, contribute the nickel per 1,000 gallons of water you sell. The associate members would be somebody like War Trace, Bell Buckle, that you sell water to. They're still a member, but they don't have a vote. Their vote is through you. There's always been a little bit of, we have the DRAGTEC group is our technical advisory group, and our board is over here a citizen-based group. And we've always kind of wanted to somehow pull these two groups together. And that's one of the things we addressed in this bill. By looking at taking these two groups and putting them together, what we are doing is adding each water system that's a voting member onto the Duck River Agency Board. Now, let me back up a little bit, because the way the voting member is going to become now is a water system that holds a TDEC A-Route permit, an Aquatic Resource Alterations permit. It's a permit you have to have if you have an intake and you're taking water out of the Duck River or out of Normandy Reservoir. So this impacts you, because you will become an associate member and not a regular member, because DRUC will be the one that will start paying the membership fee instead of Tullahoma Water Utility Authority. So working with Brian and Scott, we kind of talked, and you know, I can understand there was a little bit of feeling there that maybe, you know, we're losing our vote, but the way the vote's going to be based on for the water systems when we're deciding on projects, it's a weighted vote. So the Duck River Utility Commission will be the voting member that will be representing Tullahoma Utility Authority and Manchester City. Am I confusing you, or are you following me? Okay, I'm seeing some nods.
We go from 2 votes to 1 vote. We had 1, Manchester had 1. We now will have Duck River Utility Commission as the sole vote. But with voting based on the number of customers, the effect of the 1 vote is the same as the combination of the 2 votes.
It's a weighted voted system. It's the way it's going to be weighted vote on how the projects are determined. This group will also decide the membership fee. The fee will be based on treated water delivered to the water systems. That means when the water comes out of that water treatment plant, that's where the fee will be based instead on water sold. You'll have a member on the board from Duck River Utility Commission. Your fee will be based on the water that's treated. And one of the things we're doing also is we're codifying the Duck River Agency DRAGTEC, the Technical Advisory Committee, by legislation. We're forming that committee by legislation. Right now it is formed by resolution, about the Duck River Agency resolution. So we're taking that and making it a public committee, essentially. They will have to follow public meeting rules and laws. Where am I living off, Brian? Did I miss something there? I think that's the nutshell of it. The bottom line is that we are probably under more scrutiny right now for water supply from Duck River than we've ever been. The water systems have all fallen under a pilot program that TDEC started about 2 years ago, and which has created a lot of public comment and concern. We need a regional entity working for the water systems, representing the water systems, to address some of the comments that we're seeing. Or otherwise, everybody would be on their own, which would be pretty much chaos, I think. So this is something that is very much needed. It's very timely. The draft bill or the bill that's being filed is in the little handout I gave you. It's we will start working legislative committees next week. It's be looking for support from our legislators. We're having a luncheon for our legislators this week to let them help ask questions so the board can show them support. Is there anybody have any questions?
Well, yeah, I have some questions. I was on the Duck River Utility Commission for years, and where we were, I don't understand why. Explain to me why we're going from Manchester and Tullahoma just going to DRUC. What's the reasoning behind that?
One of the reasons we're doing that is we have a lot of water systems that treat water and sell wholesale, just like Duck River Utility Commission's treat water and they turn around and sell it to you. To put a membership fee or charge a fee, we struggled really on would it be a fee based on water withdrawn right out of the source, the Duck River or Normandy? Would it be on water sold, or was it something else? And what we agreed on was we're going to put a fee on treated water. And it would be from a entity that held an ARAP permit. You look down in Murray County, we have Columbia Power and Water that sells water to Murray County water systems. Columbia Power and Water would be like DRUC, and Murray County Water Systems would be like you all. So they see an unfair bias type situation, and so we kind of worked this thing every direction. So that's why that's the only thing we actually ended up agreeing on, that the fee would be charged on somebody that was holding.
So we're going to the legislature because of fees?
Yes, that's what we need to secure the future of the nation. I'm sorry, let me back up.
It needs to be, I don't think anybody on this board, I may have more knowledge than most of you guys, and I'm still confused.
Okay.
I want to know where we were, what we're addressing, and where we're going.
Yeah, let me take a stab at that. So the Duck River Agency has always been voluntary. That's the big difference. This mandates these fees that you have to pay. So as it is right now, we could walk away and quit paying Duck River Agency's fees.
So we
Now,
would lose the money that we
you absolutely
paid.
would do that. But there was, as the Duck River Agency needs to take on projects, potentially at Normandy or somewhere else, they need the ability to apply for grants, have matching funds, borrow money. Nobody will let you borrow money when you have a voluntary organization membership. So this just clarifies that all utilities are going to pay the fee of 5 cents today. That could go up if they build a project in the future, but 5 cents per 1,000 gallons that are pumped.
We've been doing that forever.
We
right?
have been doing that forever. Here's one change in the fact that we have not been having to pay that on losses. So if Randall pumped us 100 million gallons and we sold 90 million gallons, we only paid the nickels on the 90 million gallons. With the change, we will pay it on every gallon that he pumps to us. So in essence, to make us whole, we need to add a cent to the DRA agency portion of our water rates.
Because of our loss rate.
Because of our losses. So Duck River Agency is going to get about probably a 15 to 20% increase in revenues out of this. Even though the fee is the same, but it's just going to be paid on more gallons than before.
Okay, that's the fee, but as far as going from Manchester having a vote and Tullahoma having a vote, combining, so what is the advantage of that?
I would not say there is an advantage. I would say that's one of those things that was agreed to try to get this thing to go through. Would you think that's fair?
That's fair.
So, okay,
There-
that was a
there were-
concession to try to get it go through.
Well, yeah, and we were trying to figure out how to make it fair all the way across
Yeah.
the Duck River Basin. And it really came down to if you held a permit, that was the fairest way of doing it. If you held a permit to withdraw water out of the Duck River or Normandy Reservoir, that was the one denominator that held it all together.
We in essence have not lost any votes because we still have the same proportion. We don't control our portion of the vote. No, Randall controls that. Now, I'll say this, that Scott and I and Philip from Manchester will be in Randall's ear on all these things. And I think we would agree on 99.9% of the time on everything. We're going to be on can you remember when we've really had a difference of opinion on any of this with the three of those entities? So we do lose control. We don't have a vote anymore if this goes through, but I'm comfortable with that.
So what are the potential disadvantages? We talked about the advantage.
Well, the disadvantages is if we became frustrated with the Duck River Agency, we're going to still have to pay those nickels. I mean, it's mandated by law going forward that we pay that. But we're going to have a voice in that, and the water utilities will have maybe a stronger voice probably than they've had before, being on the full DRA board.
So the only challenge we would have would be go through the legislature if we became unhappy. We're still going to have to pay.
That's correct. You would have to go back through the legislature to change that.
Well, one of the things this does, it really secures the future of the agency with a steady revenue and a guaranteed revenue. But one of the things I've always feared is if one of the water systems dropped
Backed out.
and didn't pay, and then all the work we would be doing that everybody else would be contributing to, they would become a freeloader. And that's been a fair amount.
Have we ever had anybody not contribute?
Yes.
Who?
Well, for Spring Hill didn't for a while, and then there was some history back in the 90s that I don't really know about, but several quit.
Well, Spring Hill doesn't have a permit, do they?
Yes,
Do they?
yes, they have.
They do buy a lot of water from Columbia, but
Yeah.
they do have a
I
permit.
imagine they
Yeah,
would.
yeah, they have an intake and water treatment.
But most of their water is purchased in Columbia, correct?
Not most. They treat most of their own water. I think they treat around 4 million gallons a day, and I think they probably purchase 1 million to 1.5 million maybe now.
So
And
this would make it-
they've asked for, they're wanting to increase theirs to 6 million gallons a day, and eventually 10 million gallons a day.
But, where's that water gonna come from? No,
But it's coming out of Normandy Reservoir.
well,
And
that's what I'm
Rock-
saying,
but-
the intake of, we're providing water downstream, and our geographic area where we draw water from is very, very narrow.
You're absolutely right, and that's the biggest problem we got. We
Yeah,
have-
if Spring Hill's wanting, are we gonna lose any control over the amount of water
That we're providing.
that we're providing?
Well,
it's
that's
not.
going to be
Is that
controlled
out
by
of your,
the
out
state
of
of
the
Tennessee.
purview of your stuff?
Well, that's the state makes that decision, but it's, Normandy Reservoir is managed by TVA, and they have flow requirements they have to meet. And so one of the biggest problems we got right now, the folks that own permits, they're getting new permits with flow-by constrictions, special conditions that they have to cease to withdraw down to a certain level.
Well, I know the concern when I came off that board was getting a permit for a certain amount, not what our maximum amount is, and I'm speaking specifically for Duck River Utility Commission, what we can draw, they were trying to clamp us down on that. y'all have no control, this is not, there's no,
Duck River Agency have
We don't
control of that.
have any.
you have any control of that.
They're-
And
We have a say.
let Randall and DRUC take over our vote, would that help them draw more or not?
I don't think it will affect it.
It won't affect it. He's asked for a 12 MGD permit,
Right.
and that's what he's gonna get.
And he's been pumping 11 all week this week.
Yeah.
That's been written in blood somewhere, or is that, we promise?
He's got a draft permit, and it went through a public review comment right before the holidays, and now TBA's taking the comments and will issue the permit. But we made comments too. You guys made comments on it.
I know that was a concern, that,
And-
you know, they had drawn it out and drawn it out and drawn it
Yeah.
out. And so maybe they're gonna give us 12.
But the big reason we're doing this and securing our source of revenue by making it law is we are faced with limited water. We're gonna have to start looking at really large projects, and what I'm trying to do is put the agency in a position to go into debt to look at these large projects in the future. It's not gonna happen in the next 10 years,
What are the
20
large
years.
projects?
I think.
Give me an idea.
A mega site in Crawford County.
Well, that's requiring water, but to fix it is possibly raising Normandy Reservoir. Or we start looking at building a pipeline toward the Tennessee River or the Cumberland River and pipe water in here. But we're fixing to be, I think, a cap put on how much water we can take out of the Duck River and Normandy, which that's your growth, that stops. That you won't be able to issue any more building permits, set any more meters. That's what's being looked at pretty hard right now, is what is that number? And that's why we need to be at the table so we can bring good science to the table, good decision-making models, and we can all work together. Because if we're not all working together on this, it's not going to work. And I knew it would cause a little bit of heartburn when you think about, well, I'm losing a vote and it's going to one vote, but it's based on a weighted system. The formula is in the there, but it's so it would take at least 3 of the water systems to pass any major vote, the way it's written.
So,
Yes, ma'am.
so if you're adding people who haven't been paying before, I assume that means you've got an increase in revenue?
Everyone is paying
It's paying
currently.
right now.
In the past, there've been cities who didn't pay, but everybody,
It's
at
right
least
now,
for the
everybody's
most
paying.
recent future, is paying their nickels.
But you're still going to propose a 1 cent increase in that fee?
I'm not going to propose it, and I mean, what the new board, if this law is passed, there'll be a new board starting July 1st. That board will decide on what the fee will be and what projects we'll be looking at in the future. I don't expect it to go up. I'm not thinking it's more than 5 cents per 1,000 gallons of treated water. It may even drop because Brian just mentioned that this fee will be paying on less water. We may decide just to operate off of our current funds for now, and it may drop to 4.5 cents or 4 cents to compensate for the, that's something that we'll have to sit down and look at and do some financial modeling and figure it out. If we want to get into really ramping up and looking at some of these large projects, like building the pipeline to the Tennessee River and start bringing it this way, or Normandy Reservoir, raising Normandy Reservoir, then yeah, we may have to up that a few cents to handle the studies and engineering work that needs to be done, that sort of thing. So I'm not going to propose any changes right now. Yes, sir.
You talked about a limited supply and the potential for shutting down the number of meters we can set. What about those developers who have 1,000 units planned in the next 10 years? And it's not just 1,000 units, but maybe 2,000 units set in Tullahoma. And that's going to be multiplied but double that in Manchester with the mega site coming. Just how real is this issue of having to limit the supply? You're limiting growth when you cannot set meters. You can't finish building those subdivisions that are currently planned. I'm looking at it from a developer's perspective.
I agree. I mean, that's why I think we've got to start addressing regional water supply projects and large-scale projects. We got to start preparing because our grandkids and great-grandkids, if we don't start it right now, they're going to be in a hurt, and you're going to see a no-growth moratorium put on some of our areas, and because we just don't have the water. And it's, I mean.
But let me make a comment. I mean, I don't want you to take this the wrong way. We're talking potentially 10, 15, 20 years down the road. This is not something, like for instance, Randall on a typical day is pumping, what, 7 million gallons a day? 6 or 7 million gallons a day. He's gonna have a permit for 12 million gallons. So this is not something that we're talking about happening short term. It is something that potentially could happen long term, but there are ways to get around that. For instance, raising the Normandy Dam 5 feet. I mean, that's one of them right there. And that addresses probably water supply issues for Tullahoma and Manchester for at least the next 75 years.
Yeah.
So,
But if you start talking about raising Normandy Dam, you're talking about a 10-year project.
you are.
Yeah.
No, you're talking probably 20
Probably more
plus.
than that.
Well, okay,
Yeah, I mean, they'll take.
I've been kind, saying
Yeah.
10-year project. I look at my own personal horizon,
That's a good way to put it.
but I do see it within most of our futures is around this table. And we're thinking about pumping water from Duck River or Tennessee River or raising Normandy Dam. I think we need to get a pick and shovel and start digging.
Also, I mean,
It's-
there's
it's
going
just-
going to Tim's Ford as well, right?
Well, we looked at that.
That's been battered around too.
Yeah. You know, we developed a regional water supply plan back in 2011. And in that plan, there's 5 alternatives or project suggestions. The first one was develop a regional drought management plan, which we've been working on. It's going through environmental reviews right now. The other one was looking at how TVA manages Normandy Reservoir and the water they release. And we gave them a program called Optimizing Releases from Normandy Reservoir, which saves water. Right now, they have instantaneous flow downstream. They have to release more water, so they're not in violation. They have to hit that target. This new proposal is they have a weekly rolling average where if they fall below the target, they can ramp up a day or two later. That average gives us about 2 billion extra gallons of water in the reservoir during a dry period. Then we have the third one is a water management program where we start looking at water conservation, doing water audits. Those 3 are all just policy changes and changing our way of life. The other 2, one of them is raising Normandy Reservoir by decreasing the flood storage, raising the winter pool level up 5 feet, but we'd have to look at raising the dam for more flood control. And then the 5th one is getting Columbia and Spring Hill relying off of Normandy Reservoir, because right now they have a 100 CFS constraint, which is the measure of flow of the river, that they have to cease to withdraw. So Columbia, what we recommended is them moving their intake downstream of that constraint about 20 miles where there's more water coming in the Duck River from tributaries. So now if they get that built, which they're looking about 5 years to get all that completed, we won't have to release water out of Normandy Reservoir to meet their needs during a drought period. This is all based on dry periods. It's not really, if we have an average rainfall of 50 inches a year, we're in pretty good shape for a long time. But it's those dry periods that really hurt us. Now, one of the studies that was just completed that we're working with Randall on is that TVA wants to use more of the storage out of Normandy Reservoir during a dry period. Randall has pumping problems when it gets down to around 850 elevation in the reservoir, and we saw 852 in 2007, 2008 drought. TVA wants to be able to use about 10 more feet of water to meet the needs downstream. Randall's gone through some engineering studies to look at innovate how he can update his pumps and his intake so he can pump with TVA dropping that reservoir down to 840, which is something we don't ever want to see, but he's getting prepared to do that, and we're helping him look for funding to do that, and he'll probably come to the agency looking for some of our money. We've got 13 million in one of our trusts, and we've committed 10 million to help Columbia, and I expect Randall to ask for the other 3 million to help on his intake, which is about a $5 million project.
Please lower the intake. Make it
Not
deep-
lowering it,
make
just
it deeper? Or
no,
what?
it's on the bedrock now. It's as low as it can go. What his problem is the type of pumps he has in there, and he can't pump the water up. He loses head on top of the pumps, and he can't pump the water. So he's looking at another type pumping system, electrical work. I don't understand all of it,
Okay.
but he's looking where he can. So yes, sir.
Okay, so we could discuss this for a while, but are there any other questions for Mr. Murphy?
I
Just
have-
quickly, the Tennessee River
Okay.
would be the next century though, wouldn't it?
Right, and you don't have to go all the way to Tennessee River. We can do it in segments and just keep going down further in the Duck River, another 20 miles where there's more water until eventually a pipeline in 100 years reaches the Tennessee River. And
Only other comment that I'll have, not to throw a monkey wrench into the wheels, but being a representative in the Tullahoma area, I would be remiss talking about raising Normandy Dam. The people at Short Springs don't care for that idea much.
Understand that?
that's what
So-
I'm saying.
And just to clarify, based on my understanding, and Scott can probably give more details, but once every 10 or 15 years, if it was raised, it would flood 4 acres?
Yeah, I don't
So,
remember the numbers, but
that's
yeah.
pretty close.
That's pretty close. So that's
It's been all been modeled.
it's not a significant, it's not
The input,
it's
but-
not gonna raise the water. It's just gonna allow the ability to have, to take it up higher. It doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna be at that height very often. And we talked about droughts, and I know you're new to the community, but, I've been here almost 18 years. We had the 2007 and 8 drought. That's the only significant drought. I mean, we've had periods when it's been a little bit dry, but we've never had a period where it really got below the guideline very much.
That was
So
2007.
Okay, I'm going to recommend that if there are any other questions, I'm going to recommend that we can ask Mr. Murphy back if there's need for more information relative, not to tonight, but any other questions we have for him.
And he
We
might
can
want to
invite-
stay around tonight for,
Right.
I'll
see
stay.
if there's any questions.
But as far as any additional information, things like that, we can always invite him back for another work session.
Yeah, I'd like to come back more often.
All right, you're invited back anytime. Okay, with that, unless there's any opposition, if anyone needs a break, does anyone need a break before we go?
2 minutes?
Yes, sir. So we will go to the regular board meeting in 2 minutes. take the intermission sign down here.
Here we go.
Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone to the January 23rd TUA board meeting. I am Chairman J.T. Northcutt. First item on our agenda tonight is to approve tonight's agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion or corrections to the agenda? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion is approved. Next on the agenda is to approve the previous meeting minutes from the December meeting. Do you have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a second. Any discussion or corrections? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion is approved. Do we have any customers present with any comments on the agenda for tonight? Thank you. Next item on the agenda is recognitions, and we have new employees here tonight that we want to recognize. First, Mr. Bradley Zeal, a new electrical engineer. Bradley,
Come up front.
come on up.
Where you want me to stand? Right up there. All right.
Okay. Well, welcome, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, my name's Bradley Zeal, electrical engineer, started a little over a month ago. I've got 14 years in the electric utility industry, served both at Union City and Milan in my time. Graduated from Tennessee Martin with a degree in engineering. Before that, graduated from Wayne County Central High School, so I'm born and bred Tennessee boy.
Yes.
Spent 1 year outside of Tennessee, didn't like it, came back.
All right.
Excited to be here.
Okay. Okay. So you have family?
Yes, I've got my wife Amanda, been married.
Don't get this wrong.
That's right.
We'll be 17 years this year, 16 years. We got
We
two
hope you
kids.
make 17.
Hoping to make 17, yes. She's not watching this, so I'm good. We've got 2 kids. I've got a daughter who is 14. Her name's Zoe. Today is actually her birthday. And then a son that's 12. His name's Zachary. Hopefully Zoe's looking to get into the theater up at South Jackson, so hopefully
right.
maybe be able to see her there.
Great.
I'm just looking forward to being here.
Okay. Well, welcome, and we hope you have a long, successful career here with Telem Utility Start.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Bradley, what's the deal with the Z's?
So my wife thought it would be cute to have the kids have their first name match the last name. So their initials are ZZ, which makes it hard to keep up with them because you got to throw the middle initial in there otherwise.
Very good, very good.
All right. Okay, I think we got to take a picture. All right. Prove to your wife that you were here since she's not watching.
There you go.
On 3. 1, 2, 3.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, next we have Mr. Reese Brandon, a journeyman lineman. Reese?
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Reese Brandon. I've been a journeyman lineman. I came from Winchester. I worked there about 4 years. I'm married and I have 1 kid.
Okay. Are you from Winchester?
I'm originally from Murfreesboro,
Murfreesboro,
but I
okay.
moved here about 2.5 years ago.
All right.
You an Oakland Patriot or a
Yes, sir.
Riverdale Warrior?
Oakland Patriot.
All right.
What do you think? We get a vote? Okay, all right, all right, all right.
Both of them are okay on that.
Okay, all right. Okay, well, thank you, and welcome to TUA from Winchester. You came to the right place. All right, and I also hope you have a long and illustrious career here with us also.
Yes, sir.
You're the first person I've been this tall as.
Almost.
Yeah, close. I'll take close. I'll take close.
Can I make a comment?
Yes, sir.
So just want to make a comment. We are very fortunate with both of these employees to find people very qualified to be able to walk right in the door and start to work for us. And appreciate the board allowing us to give good pay and benefits to our employees because those are the kind of things that attract people to want to work here.
Anybody else? Okay, also we want to recognize Mr. Hunter Parker tonight. He's completed his EIT certification. Hunter?
As many of you may know, I'm Hunter Parker. Been here 4 years now in March. and I just passed my fundamental engineering exam back in December, and just got all my paperwork back, waiting for the certificate in the mail that's coming, and I'm working towards getting my PE license.
That's awesome.
All right.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
Very good.
And Hunter is married and
Oh, I
you can tell him again and
I
remind
guess I
him.
never got this before, so I came in COVID. So
Okay.
I'm married, been married.
Get it right.
Hang on, I'm thinking. We're crunching the
Over
numbers
4
here.
years.
5 years. 5 years
Oh,
now.
wow.
It was 5 years back in October. We have one little girl. She's 3 as of December, and we have another one on the way. So
Congratulations.
thank you, sir.
Okay, I'm gonna recommend some training from me to Bradley and Hunter. This is on relationship. How to keep it going for 50 years.
50 years. That's a good standard to set.
Tell me how long you've been married.
On 3. 1, 2, 3.
Thanks, Hunter.
Thank you.
All right. Always good to have our new employees here and those that are continuing their education. So I want to thank all of them. So now we'll move to specific agenda items on our agenda. First, I want to consider approval of additional funding for TVA's Home Uplift Program. Do I have a motion?
I'll move that we approve additional funding for the TVA Home Uplift Program in the calendar year 2024 and approve TUA's costs coming from the TUA Roundup Program, $7,000, and TUA Electric Reserves, $7,000.
Very good. That's Ms. Dean. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and seconded. Mr. Skelton?
Just brief comments. It's explained mostly in the memo, but we've been supporting the Uplift program. I guess this is our 4th year, and the TVA has additional funding because not all utilities took advantage of this, so we had the ability to add additional funding and get their matching, and just asking that the board approve $14,000 from TUA and $14,000 from TVA, which will at least get us 2 full houses to do a major energy renovation for. And as a reminder, the Uplift program is a major energy and quality of life renovation on homes in the TUA service territory. I think, are we up to 15, Chris? Is that right?
15. I guess we're working on a 16th one right now.
Okay, so we've now done 15 of those homes, and they will have better quality of life in those homes, and they will, in most cases, see significant changes in their energy uses for the better.
Do we have one company that does that work, or is that?
We have a company that oversees it, and they bid the work out to different contractors.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, ready to vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion is approved. Next, consider purchase of grit grinder, excuse me. Consider purchase of grit chamber equipment for the wastewater treatment plant. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the bid from Bar Environmental Supply for Smith & Love's equipment for a TUA grit chamber in the amount of $119,870.
Okay, second.
Second.
Any, okay, Mr. Skelton?
Last year, or I guess it's actually in 2022, the board approved Bar Environmental to replace one of our grit chambers. That took a while, and it was bid at a cost of $105,000. We've now installed that and been very happy with the way it works. We have a second grit chamber that needs to be replaced. We're asking that the board approve basically a mirror identical grit chamber of the one that we purchased. The price did go from $105 to $119, but when we bid this out originally in 2022, we only had 2 bids, and the other bid was $130-something thousand. So even with the price increase, it's significantly lower than the other bid, and it makes a lot of sense for us to put the same thing in. We don't want to have 2 different grit chambers to maintain that are mechanically different.
And we're not obligated until the next fiscal year.
That is correct. They will not have it built nor bill us until fiscal year 2025.
Any other questions? Okay, I would just like to say, I think it's been a year and a half since we took bids, I understand, but I would like to if it's not too much trouble, I would like for us to assure that there are no other suppliers. You know, if we can do that, it would be good. I think we have to make sure that, you know, we're looking to see. And it's been a year and a half, so just see if there are any other, there were only two. If there are still only two, I'm fine with it.
And I think Bar Environmental is exclusive for that Smith and Levis equipment.
Yeah.
We can confirm that.
Exclusive supplier
They are. They
Okay.
are the.
for the one that we're
So
trying to
they have this service territory.
Okay.
Geographical
Okay.
service territory, so they get to bid. So unless we change vendors,
Right.
meaning manufacturers and a different kind of grit chamber, then they would be the only one. that
No,
can
I'm
bid
not
on it.
proposing that. I was just
Okay.
wanting to assure that it was still, they were the only ones. Okay, so with that, we are ready to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion is approved. Okay, next, consider extending contract for calendar year 2024 for ground maintenance. Do you have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to recommend the board extend the grounds maintenance contract for calendar year 2024 at the same rates to Morgan's Lawn and Landscaping at an estimated maximum cost of $34,334.50.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion seconded. Mr. Skelton?
We've used Morgan's every year since 2007, except for one, and we went with another vendor and quickly came back to Morgan's when that didn't work out. So just recommending, they do good work for us. We will rebid this next year, so it will be open for other companies to bid on it.
Okay. Any comments or discussion? Okay, we're ready to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion is approved. Okay, next on the agenda is consider Ledford Mill wastewater project final construction cost. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the final payment to Prince Utility LLC for the Ledford Mill wastewater project in the amount of $46,147.68, with funding coming from wastewater reserves.
Okay, we have a motion. There's a second.
Second.
All right, motion is seconded. Mr. Skelton?
This project was bid out on unit pricing, and the engineer, for whatever reason, we had requested an extension to the property line. It was not included in the calculation originally. The contractor did what we asked them to do. We simply need to pay this. But this extension will allow us to connect to the property line and connect other customers as that area continues to grow, including some of this wastewater that may flow into that pipe actually from the North Jackson area.
Will this put undue stress on our reserves, Scott? No.
No. And can I make one little correction?
Okay.
The total, the grand total of 916,360.68 is correct. The 46,000 is actually, what was over and above the original contract amount. But the actual payment is the final payment, which included a lot of other stuff too, including reserves, including, not reserves, retained. So the actual final check is, where is that? I mean, it all adds up to the grand total. It's 239,126.58 is what the actual check is to finalize the project.
Okay, so the amount that we're looking to pay is
Yeah.
$239?
Yeah, that's the actual check that's written to cover this. But the overage is the 46,147.68.
So it was like the draw and then the extra.
Yeah, correct.
I mean, we do not need board approval to make
No.
the final payment, but
Right.
we do for the
Yeah.
unbudgeted portion.
Right, which is the 46,000.
Right,
So there's
yeah.
no need to amend them.
No, I just want to make sure you understood
Okay.
that is the overage amount, not the actual check we wrote.
I understand. Okay, I think we're fine with that. There's no need to amend the motion, I don't think. Okay, so we're ready to vote. Thanks, Scott.
All right.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so the motion is approved. Okay. Okay, next next on the agenda, consider adjusting the TUA attorney hourly rate. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion for the board to approve the raising the hourly rate for TUA legal representation to $162 for senior attorneys, $124 for mid-level attorneys, and $106 for junior attorneys.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion seconded. Mr. Skelton?
This is simply a recommendation to raise the attorney fees based on the cost of living adjustment, which has been significant the last 2 years.
Okay. Any discussion? Comment?
I'll make a comment.
Okay.
These rates are very low for the kind of service we get from Mr. Reader. I'm accustomed to seeing much higher rates for attorneys' services than these.
Okay.
So I think I'm very comfortable with that.
Thanks, Mayor.
Mr. Reader's he's an outstanding attorney, well-known in this community, and we're glad to have him.
Sir.
He'll be missed one day when he decides to hang it up because he knows so much about utility law because he's been doing work down here for over 40 years.
It says rating was superior. Yeah. All right. Well, we do appreciate the service Mr. Reader provides. So we're ready to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion is approved. Okay, next on the agenda, Duck River Agency resolution and legislation, and we heard tonight, very nice presentation and some discussion on this, and we certainly do appreciate the discussion and the very thorough information that was provided to us. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve that we adopt the resolution 012324A in support of the Duck River Agency legislation to present it to state legislature in this session.
Second.
Motion is seconded. Again, we've heard tonight quite a bit of information from Mr. Skelton.
I think Mr. Murphy made a good presentation. I think most of the questions got answered. I do want to just clarify one thing because we were talking about the nickels and how we are paying it now on water delivered. We'll be paying it on water delivered to us in the future. We typically have close to 18 to 20% losses. So that would mean we would need probably about another penny to make us whole. A penny to the Duck River Agency, based on the amount of gallons that we use, is about $10,000. So it's not a significant amount of money, and I'm not even suggesting that we add the cent to that. I'm just pointing that out to mean remain whole. We would need to add a cent to our residential and commercial and industrial rates. I would think at the time we do another rate increase down the road in 2 or 3 or 4 years, we might get that extra penny back at that time.
Is there, I know that one of the endeavors is to reduce loss. So I know that's something that TUA is working on, and so not that you'd ever reduce it to zero.
Right.
But, that could mitigate that cost increase.
We work on those loss rates and projects all the time, and we do sometimes make headway on that, but it's a slow go.
It's like fighting the squirrels.
It is. You get rid of one, another one comes back, or two comes back.
Okay, any other discussion, comments? Okay, ready to vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion is approved, 5-0. Again, I want to thank Mr. Murphy. Okay, next, consider like-to internet only discount for TUA employees. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to, where is it? I'm on somewhere, sorry.
Mine's wrong too.
I had to look for mine. I
Oh,
think
it's in the addendum.
yeah, it is. It was added, it's in your, it's in your stack.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
He's got it.
recommend we approve a 50% discount in light tube residential internet only rates for TUA employees beginning with February 2024 light tube billing cycle.
Okay, have a motion?
Second.
I have a second. Mr. Skelton, I'm going to defer to you. Some things that I think we need to talk about or give some information about is I made the recommendation for this, and I want to ensure that it does not have any impact on our customers and the rates that they will pay, and any other negligent effects on TUA as a whole. So, information from you.
Well, just a couple of comments. The fiber budget is approximately $7 million a year. The effect of this would be less than $1,000 a month. So $12,000 a year on a $7 million budget. So, you know, the money has to come from somewhere. You're going to have to make up $10,000 or $12,000 that you're not going to get in revenue. But the light tube in itself is doing very well financially. This is something we talked about at one time. The feedback was not very positive from the board in 2009. For those who remember Clem Reese, he was not in favor of this, and other board members were not. And we were just getting started at that time. I did do some extra research today, and I've shared this with Mr. Northcutt, but first of all, I had Bill Reeder to confirm that we could legally do that, and he said that's no issue. I did do some research and found out in the IRS code, if you give more than a 20% discount, you have to tax anything above 20%. Okay. So if there was a 50% discount, 30% of that 50% has to be taxed like income, which brings on another new tracking of that discount and then doing payroll on it. So in calling some of my managers who manage similar systems, I found two different systems that give 20% discounts on all of their telecom services, meaning television, internet, and telephone.
Okay.
I found one that gives a 50% discount on internet and television only. And then I found one that gives what you would call a utility employee package, which is a very, very deeply discounted package that included telephone, internet, and television itself. Triple play. So one thing, looking at the exact amounts, if you do a 50% discount on internet only, and today, if you look at that number, it would cost about $950 a month. If you chose to give 20% on all light tube services, that number would actually drop to about $711.
Okay.
But it would be much, much easier on staff. I mean, staff meaning he and customer service. I'm not suggesting that you change it to that. It's just one thing to maybe consider.
Okay.
Because of the tax.
Because of having to keep up with that, and then at the end of the year, put an item on their payroll check taxing that benefit.
Which means they really wouldn't be getting the benefit that we propose.
Well, it would take away part of the benefit. It really wouldn't take away that much, but it would take away part of the benefit.
I have a question.
Sure.
When we upgrade our software, accounting software, would this be something that would be easier to take care of down the road?
Yeah.
Possibly, because we'll have one software that will do both sides of our systems. Right now we have two different softwares. We have one for a broad hub.
So let me pitch this out
Sure,
to the board.
sure.
Let's amend this to 20%, and then whenever the software gets upgraded, then we can scoot up to 50% to make it easier.
I'm fine.
I like that idea.
Okay, let me ask a question though. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't want to cut off the discussion.
No, that's fine. I just,
Ms. Dean?
How many employees are essentially required or need
Eligible.
to use the VPN as a part of their job?
I would say probably on a routine basis, 10.
So if you have a requirement, in a sense, to effectively use VPN for your job, why is that not just included, in your employee package.
That's
Why
good.
are they paying anything?
That's good. That's a good question.
If that, if they need that to effectively do their job, then that should be part of their equipment, essentially, to do their job.
That's a good point.
That'd be under policy, wouldn't it, maybe?
I think it could be under policy. I don't know if it's currently under policy.
There's nothing in the policy now, and, for the most part, people who are doing that are people who are salaried, but like Scott, we've had issues with water this weekend. I mean, all the lines are breaking, people are dripping, our water tank's getting low. Scott said, he was camped out watching the water system this weekend in front of his computer from his house.
Yeah.
I hope he's watching the NFL at the same time.
Learning stuff every now and then.
Yeah, that thing. But, it's mostly the high, upper supervisors
Right.
and above that are, doing that. But
But we want to offer it to all employees.
yeah, I mean, that's the board's decision, how you want to do it.
My recommendation was, but a question, the systems those three systems that you talked about, are they similar to us? We don't want to compare with Nashville. Are they similar size?
They're
utilities?
all 10 FOC members. I mean,
Okay.
a mixture of looking at, say, Bristol, Morristown, Clarksville, Pulaski,
Okay.
those kind of
That
systems.
offer the
Jackson.
same thing? Okay.
And they do 20%.
But
Two
that's
of
for
them
all.
do 20% on all. One of them does 50% on two, and the other one just has a very, very inexpensive triple play package for all employees. And the rationale for that is they wanted them to use the services so they could tell the community about them and sell them, even if they weren't in customer service. They could tell their neighbors, they could tell their friends at church, their friends that they go eat with, how great that service is.
Sure.
I wanted, my whole thought was, we have great employees. And to offer some kind of benefit, an additional benefit that would not be something that we'd have to pass on to the public to pay for. And so that was the initial thought. With having to pay taxes on the 50%, I don't want for us to propose something that looks like we're really giving this, but really you're only getting 20. I don't want to do that. I like the idea of the 20%, but it's below what I wanted.
But it also is on all services there.
But I would like to take it additionally from just the internet to make it 20% on also the TV. How much more would that cost us?
Well, that's what
That's what we're
that's
doing,
already
aren't we?
included in there. That
I think we go
7-Eleven
both.
includes 20%
Television.
discount on television,
Telephone.
telephone, and internet for any employee who has our services today. $711 a month is what
Who
it
had
costs
the
us.
original motion?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, yeah, he approved the original. So I'd like to ask to,
You made an amendment.
I made an amendment that we make it 20% on all the triple play services.
oh, you did on all?
Yeah.
Okay. I
And
didn't,
I accepted that amendment to my motion.
okay.
Okay.
With the suggestion that when we get NISC installed, we possibly revisit that.
We might revisit the
Good,
50%.
the chairman's idea.
Okay, all right. So are we ready to vote, or is there any more discussion?
We're voting on the amendment, voting on.
As amended,
As
As
amended
amended.
first.
Right.
And then
We're voting on the amendment first, and then we'll vote
Right.
on the motion as amended.
right.
that's right. This guy knows how we do this.
He does it every
That's
month.
right. All right, so,
Times a week.
ready to vote on the amendment?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, the amendment passes. Next,
We're voting on the motion as amended now.
as amended.
And just to make sure everybody understands, the motion is 20% off of all light tube services for employees.
That's correct.
Okay.
In our service area.
Right, they have to be a light tube
Right,
service.
okay.
They have to be an electric customer to be able to access light.
Right, okay. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion is approved as amended.
That might also bring our employees to
That's right.
Oklahoma.
That's exactly right.
Could or could not.
Okay. Next, we want to consider approval of resolution 012324. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second?
And seconded. Okay, Mr. Skelton?
Well, this is something that we've talked about, and I've been to the city board once or twice with Mr. Northcutt about the changes to the city charter. While they affect all other boards, and that may or may not be a good thing, I'm only concerned about tonight talking about the TUA board. And the TUA language previously gave protection to board members that they had to be removed for cause and also had to have due process. The changes to the city charter have simplified that, and they basically say that if the appointed member serves at the will of the appointee. And what this resolution is to simply ask Senator Bowling and Representative Bricken to talk to the city, to encourage them to correct this language as we've asked, which simply strikes TUA from Section 14 of Article 2 of the new proposed city code, and also strikes the language under the Tullahoma Utilities Authority Private Act. And that they have changed that sentence to say now, as provided for in Article 2, Section 14 of the Charter of the city. So basically, this language would simply mean that the BMA could still remove board members, but they had to have cause to do so. They couldn't just do it because they didn't like you or didn't like the fact that you voted to raise rates or voted to raise fees or condemned property. So, that's my summary.
Okay. All right, do we have a motion?
Move to approve, yeah.
Well, you already have a motion, right?
Yeah. And then we,
Oh, we do? We already had a motion?
yeah.
I
Okay.
guess it's discussion.
Okay, any other comments or discussion?
With the, with leaving in for cause, it also includes recourse. If you are removed for cause, you have an opportunity to
Right.
be notified
Appeal.
and then appear before your accuser or your remover and to state your case why you should not be removed.
That's in the current language.
No, that's in what we're proposing.
It's
That was in the language that
It's
was
not in what
before.
we're proposing, but I think that you can look at case law, and case law probably would show that. But it's not, our language just simply leaves the word for cause in there and takes out the reference that we have to being under the new city policy, and the new city policy being that you serve at the will of the appointee.
Any other comments, Ms. Dean?
So I have several issues with this,
Okay.
as I
As
mentioned.
recommended.
And one is, when you look at, just kind of in the face of, for the public, that we're asking for favored treatment. That's not exactly why not in favor of this. Just in general principle, BOMA is the authority that appoints, and they are also fiduciary. They've got a fiduciary responsibility to the public, to the citizens of Tullahoma. That if for some reason that they feel, some issue comes up that they need to remove a board member, they're the appointing authority, and I think they should retain that. And several of you have been BOMA members, and I would think would want to retain that that power, just in case there's something that comes up. I mean, hopefully you would think that ethically that they wouldn't just willy-nilly remove board members, but it is a political appointment. So I just don't feel like I can support that, the changes that you're proposing.
Okay. Any other comments?
I guess I just,
Go ahead, Mike.
I guess I just put myself in the place of, let's say all of you people out in the TV land, and everybody in this room, you work for a company. All of a sudden you come in Monday morning, the guy comes to you, the boss, your boss, the one that has responsibility over your position, and says to you, we are removing you from your position. for no reason. I don't think that's a kind of ability that we should allow the Tullahoma, the city board to have. I think that's going way beyond what they should do, what they ethically should do, democratically should do. It's so far out of anything I would even consider. If I was a city board member, I would fight that to the end. If I was a city board member, to vote for something that would allow our board to remove someone for any reason. We don't like the tie you're wearing. We don't like your sister. We don't like this. We don't like that. I mean, it's just ridiculous, really, to allow the city board to act in that way. That's how I feel about it.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Stat. Dr. Blanche has your hand up.
The language is, I think the big thing here is cause. That's the thing. I don't think you're handicapping the BOMA if there's something that's serious enough to take any of these boards, somebody to remove them, it would be something fairly serious, I would think. And that would be that would initiate a cause. So if you take cause out of there, then it becomes more subjective. And I think if you become more subjective with that, you might start sliding down a slippery slope. That's all I have.
Just one thing is, when you look at the policy, TUA policies, it says what the board is supposed to do.
Oh, you're speaking of our board?
Yes.
Okay.
It says what the TUA board is required to do, responsible to do. But, if you're going to establish a cause, then you need to have a standard of measure against which you're going to have cause. There is no policy within the TUA policies that says what a board member is actually supposed to do.
Okay.
And I think that actually would fall on the city to establish that, because they're the appointing authority of the TUA board members. And that standard should be not for just the TUA board members, but for any board member of any board. I mean, I'm not a board member. I'm just,
Okay.
I agree with you, but I think I think if we had Bill Reeder here or Steve Worsham here, if you said, is there a legal definition for cause, I think they would say, yes, you can start researching case history, and, cause is for, doing something unethical, doing something illegal. The BMA is proposing, can I read something? Is that okay, Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
This is the language that is in there today, which says,
Excuse me, is this in the current
in the
charter?
current city charter, that any officer, servant, or agent of any member of the board or agency or commission appointed or elected by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen may be removed for cause from office upon a vote of the majority of the members of the board, but only after a preferment of formal charges against him. Upon motion of the board formally approved, written charges shall be furnished to the appointee at least 10 days prior to a hearing thereon. The date of this hearing shall be set forth in a written notice of charges to be given to the appointee. The notice shall be mailed by certified mail to the appointee at his last known address at least 10 days prior to a hearing thereon. The appointee shall have an opportunity to be heard in person or by counsel at the hearing. After the hearing, the appointee may be removed upon the affirmative vote of the majority of the members of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. That has been simplified today.
And that was what was in it previously, right?
That's what's in it today.
Today, okay.
But what's proposed is the appointed member serves at the will of the appointee. If appointed by the mayor, he or she may remove the appointee. If appointed by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, the board may vote to remove the appointee. They can just remove them for no reason. So in essence, in fairness, y'all all would have a 2-week term between the next board meeting to the next board meeting to the next board meeting. I mean, you're elected or nominated or appointed for a 5-year term, and that's true for all the boards. But we're talking about the TUA board in this case, and I do think we're different. And I've made this comment to the BMA, and I don't know if you've heard it or not, but we manage a $50+ million budget. The combination of every other board in the city that's appointed is probably $3 million. I mean, that's a big difference. We provide service to electric, water, wastewater to every citizen in our city. We provide light tube to about 40 or 50% of those. I mean, this is not a typical appointed board. The Electric Plant Act has language in there, which we had until we became an authority, that had similar language about removing board members. They put that in there because they don't want this to become a political agency where people are appointed and removed and, you know, moved around. I mean, the BMA absolutely has the appointing authority. There is no doubt about that. I think there's ever been a question about that, and it was written in the private act for the utility authority to have that. But I don't think in my wildest dreams I ever thought they would try to change the language to where with just a simple vote with no cause they could remove our board members. And I did look at other cities around the state, and in the ones I looked at, I never found one that had language that simple.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have.
No, you're fine, you're fine.
So, I mean,
I
just,
think it's important to discuss.
and maybe with the rates for the attorney, I should have gone to law school, but anyway. The language you read, it said for cause, but it never established what cause is. So you still have not established what are they going
Right,
to
but
do.
That's the city.
you do have calls in there, though.
But it doesn't state
And you
what
have a right,
cause
but-
is.
Well,
And you have due
Yeah,
process.
due process.
And you have to be told what the charges are,
Right.
the
You-
cause.
it's
The charges
like,
could be
if
that,
you're going to be removed, you're taking your due process rights away
Yeah.
as a citizen or as a member of this board. That's not American, in my opinion. You know, there's constitution. I mean, I'm not a lawyer either. I'm a country eye doctor. But, you know, to take that process away, I don't know how legal that is. If we had Mr. Worsham or Mr. Reeder here, they might could say, well, that doesn't apply.
Okay,
But I don't
okay.
know.
And one other thing, previous actions by this city board would lend themselves to the fact that they will take advantage of this act if it is not nullified by Senator Bowling and the state legislature. They have done, I'm not going to get into it, but the truth of the matter is, trust in the city board right now is very, very questionable.
Okay.
They would exercise.
Sure, man.
Comment about, I've been seeing people appointed to all the boards in the city for the last 9 years. When someone comes before the city board to present themselves as a candidate, as a nominee to be on this board or any other board that's a board of mayor and alderman appointed, they come with their credentials and they present themselves to the board. And those candidates are evaluated in that meeting. There's a nomination made and they're voted on in that board. And they're voted on based on their credentials. What do they bring to that specific board? You don't bring somebody to the airport board that's got housing authority experience. You don't bring somebody to the TUA board that has airport experience. You bring somebody that's right for the job. And you appoint those people assuming that they're going to be there for 5 years and possibly 10 with the opportunity to serve second. And that lends some stability to all of those boards, not just this board, but to all those boards, so that you don't have the potential for a revolving board. So I'd say that the people that are appointed this, I remember very well the first board meeting I sat in and there was an opportunity and you were up for appointment. You remember that?
Reappointment, yes.
And I was very glad to see you appointed that board. That's been, what, 7 years ago or 9 years, 8 years? 8 years ago this year.
Yeah.
But anyway, people that appointed these boards, they become very responsible to the boards that they serve on. And they're not, for instance, somebody on the airport board is not going to be voting what's in the best interest of the city necessarily, but what's in the best interest of that board. And I expect the same thing with all the other boards. And that is aside from anything else that's been said tonight. It's just background that I've experienced in the last 9 years.
Mr. Chairman, one quickie, please. In response to the mayor and what he said in terms of people who come on this board are people who are interested and qualified to be on this board. And I think it's reflected in one statistic that TUA can claim right now, that we, out of 153 utilities in the state of Tennessee, we have the 10th lowest electrical rate. And I think that speaks loudly to the responsibility that we take here. We take it seriously. And our ratepayers and our customers are very important to us.
Appreciate it. I have some things to say about this, and this is a very serious issue. And I think it's an issue that that the decision that's made on this is going to have some far-reaching effects and a potential for it. And I've served as an alderman for 3 terms. There's 2 things I want to say here. First of all, if you put your application in to serve on any board, if you're selected, your first obligation is to that board. That board. If you are a board member on the Telehome Utilities Authority, your first obligation is to the Telehome Utility Authority. That's why you want to serve on it, not the city. The city has its own person appointed to this board. The city has its own people appointed. So your first obligation is to assure what is best for the Telehome Utilities Authority and its customers, not the city. Second thing is that if the city is really, and again, I was on the board and we saw several people appointed and we voted on them. If you think of it, if the city board is concerned about the people that are on these boards, then let's do some preventative action. And if you're concerned about JT Northcutt, don't appoint him. Then you won't have to worry about yanking him off if he's unethical. And also, I'm sure that the board, the BOMMA that wanted the changes, there's a reason they wanted to do it. But the language was already in there that gave them the authority to do it. So, and I did take the time to find out what the laws, the definition says. The law says the phrase for cause is used in connection, this is the law definition, means for reasons for which the law and sound public policy recognize as sufficient warrant for removal that is of a legal issue, and not merely a cause in which the anointing power in exercise of discretion may deem sufficient. There's also a law dictionary definition for legally no cause. No cause means an employer or an overseeing body can terminate an employee or official, such as a board member, for any reason without warning. So I'm opposed to this, and I'm opposed to it. First of all, because I don't think that you don't want any board, and we're going to deal with TUA tonight, but I don't think you want any board member to feel the undue pressure where they cannot act in earnest and do what they need to do for the right reason for the board they serve on, for fear there'll be retaliation from the city board. And this lends itself to that. Not saying they would, but it certainly opens it up to where a person serving on the board really has to be concerned about what the city, any sort of city board member may think about the action they take. And that's just wrong. If again, you know, the city, and you're right, you know, the BOMA appoints these board members. Again, you know, if you appoint them, you got trust, you got faith in the integrity of that person. And being honest with you, you know, anybody that's served, but you know, there's many times where you don't agree with a person. You don't agree with each other. But that's what it's about. It's it's good to have differences. It's good to have different points of views. But if we're going to get into business of that allows for micromanagement of these boards, it's not good. The other thing is it could possibly deter people from any one of us from even wanting to go through, you know, trying to get on a board. And I think they have the right and should maintain the right. The city board is the highest authority that we have for our city. Should have the right for a cause to remove a person. There's no doubt. They should have that right, and it should always be there. But it should not be to where we're now making arrangements for no cause, for a person to be removed. And this basically changes that for no cause. And that's just, in my mind, that is wrong. That is wrong, and it's not only about today. That's the thing. You know, we may say that, you know, on the opposite end of the spectrum, we may have full faith in the board that's up there now. Or we don't. But what about the boards that come in the future? And we don't know who's going to be on this board. We don't know the mindset of those people. And to change it to where this now because you can't change the city charter every year. And I've also heard that, you know, well, if you don't like it, if you get taken off, you know, use your vote in 2 years. Come on, the damage is done. The damage is done. If you remove a person for no cause, and you have to wait for 2 years, and by the way, you're talking about 5 people removing one person, and it takes a whole town to remove somebody else, the people on the board. So I just think it's bad. I think it's really bad. I think it's something that would really hurt our town going forward, and that's all I'm gonna say. But I guess we're ready to vote. Are there any more comments or discussion on this matter? Yes, sir.
I can't help but make one comment about your comment, so I understand it. But now it's qualified, the people that are sitting around this table and who everyone except me was appointed by the board of mayor in Alton. I am the mayor's appointed representative from that board. I have a different fiduciary responsibility than people that were appointed by that board. I have to look, I'm the guy appointed myself to sit on this board to represent the city on this board. I have tried to do that, looking at what is in the best interest of the city. And I've done that. I think you go back and reflect on every vote that I've made. There's been one or two. It's been in conflict with things that have gone on this board. But yes, I do have a responsibility to the city first, and this board second.
That's correct. That's correct. You do. Okay, well, first of all, I want to thank everyone for making comments, because I for one, I am all in favor of the democratic process, and I think everybody's voice should be heard and taken seriously. And before going to this, I will say this, as a city board member, a former city board member, you know, I think we are empowered, and even on this board, you know, we're getting a lot of trust from the people, all the residents of Tullahoma. A lot of trust for us to do the quote right thing the democratic thing and honor the democratic process. And that's very important. That's very important. And there were several times where, and this is just me personally, where JT Northcutt thought, I don't like this. But you get input from the people and the board, the city board of Tullahoma were elected at large. And if you're on any board, it's very important that when it becomes an issue, critical issue, that you take input from the people you serve, because you are a city servant and you're a representative of the people of Tullahoma. And that input has to be important. And there were several times where my vote was not JT Northcutt's vote, but it was a vote from the majority of the people that I serve. And I think if you're gonna sit in the seat here, and if we get, and I think we're no different. We serve the public. That's the only reason we exist. And if you're on any board, if you don't take input from the people you serve and take it seriously and put it in your mix to make a decision, you're not doing the right thing. You shouldn't be there. And that's all I'm gonna say. So can we vote?
Call the question.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
Okay. 4-1. All right. Thank you all, and thank you for the discussion. I think it's very important. All right. Next, we will have committee reports. Policy committee.
Shannon, we have a date for the policy committee.
February the 20th.
Department?
I'm announcing for the policy
Oh, I'm
committee, but
sorry.
the policy committee, is it where we're at the policy committee?
Yes,
The
yes.
policy committee,
Right at Patty.
yeah. The mayor and
Mr. Norris and
Patty
Ms. Dean? Okay.
are the chair and the other member, but we have a meeting date set up for
February the 20th at 2 o'clock. I think.
February
the 20th at 2 o'clock.
Okay.
And we will be looking at quite a few policies.
Okay. And included in those we're looking at, will it be one for attendance?
We haven't decided
I think
yet,
that
Mr.
that's
Chairman.
being looked at.
Okay.
I think,
I'd like a report, I'd like some kind of, something back on that one.
I don't know what the board can do about attendance, but the board could certainly have a policy and then make recommendations to the BMA to enforce the policy. But
Well,
I don't know.
Can we talk about that? Because I don't know that the BMA has to approve every policy that we do.
No, they don't. But I mean, I don't think there's the ability, for instance, of the four of you to vote off a board member here.
No, it's nothing to vote out, but
But you could censure them and I guess something like that.
No. Okay, we can discuss it later. I think the intent of the policy is to, just as we have other things that we think that board members should do. I think the board itself can establish a policy, but to remove a member, it still has to go through the BMA. But I think that is just to establish expectations as a member when you get here on this board. So,
And
sure.
I know
Yeah.
you, go ahead, you're probably gonna say what I'm gonna say.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I've been doing a lot of research and looking at what other organizations have done and some options. So,
Yeah, you all can discuss that. All right. Okay, February 20th. Okay, thanks, and that's open to the public, all right?
It is open to the
Okay,
public.
okay. Rate committee?
We have not met and not meeting in the foreseeable future as far as I know.
Okay. And based on what you did last time, we won't tell anybody when you, I'm joking. I was joking. Okay, any others? Any other committees or anything? Okay. We do appreciate all the board members that work on these committees. It's very important. Okay, now it's time for the departmental reports. Ms. Keller.
Thank you, Mr. Northcutt.
Yes, sir.
Just a few things to bring up. First of all, I would like to thank our employees for coming in. We worked through the storm. Our employees came in. Our electric crews, I guess the first night when TVA had their concern about the usage of power, and we had our crews in working all night. We only had one really large outage, which was very brief. Our crews fixed it very quickly, but they were in all night, refusing transformers and lines because we were just seeing currents that we had never seen before. I mean, there was just so much heat and so much demand. Even though we did not set an all-time peak, I think the reason we didn't is because our two largest industries were not working that morning. So we had a peak of, I think, 71, and I'm sure Brian will talk about that more in his report. Our water utility crews and metering staff have been busy trying to locate customer leaks and leaks on our system. We've been sharing information, going out and cutting off water at people's home. We've had several locations where they had leaks and they were out of town and water was just running everywhere, and we cut those customers' water off to save them having any worse damage than they already have. But our water crews are really getting busy with the temperature changes. We've had quite a few water main breaks. I'm not sure how many we had today, but I saw them out on Jackson Street. So we'll be busy probably for several more days dealing with both service line breaks and water main breaks. And our Short Springs tank, which is the tank that sort of determines the pressure and fills up our other tanks, we've been struggling to keep that full, and that's been primarily because people were running and dripping in their faucets and also leaks on the system. But we think we finally are getting ahead of that. The tank is filling back up now, so but we still ask people, to not waste water right now, because again, we're between us and the customers that we resell water to. We resell water to Moore County, to War Trace, which resells it to Bell Buckle. Our water goes all the way up to exit 99. That's how far our water goes. So we've got a lot of exposure, but anyway, hopefully those systems will get their water leaks fixed also. So rain is coming this week, so the focus will go from water to wastewater and the wastewater treatment plant, because there's a lot of water coming. There'll be a lot of water hitting our wastewater treatment plant through the inflow. I know the city will be dealing with the issues with the stormwater from all this rain also. Our new EV charging station, which was supposed to be commissioned last Wednesday, they got here and realized there was snow and turned around and went back home. They will be here tomorrow to commission the EV charging station. Hopefully after they commission it, it will be available for the general public to use. And just to clarify, for those who don't know, TUA is not providing any kind of supplement on the power. We're actually charging 40 cents a kilowatt hour for anyone who needs to use this to charge their car. It's a charging station of convenience. It's much, much cheaper to charge your home in your garage with a level 2 charger. These chargers are really designed for people who are traveling from out of town and need a place to charge before going back home or moving on to their next location. Accounting's been busy working on a lot of things, which I think Jason will share with you, but one of the things I wanted to bring up is they're working on refunding the interest on deposits, and this year it's going to be pretty high because of the interest rates being high. We pay interest based on the interest rate we get from our state of Tennessee account, and so the interest rates will be higher. Customers will be getting a higher interest rate on their return on their deposits this year. And for the month of December, Light Tube had another negative month, -2. We are down to 4,608 total customers. This month looks to be a good month. We should be positive, but things can always change. We did have several days that we weren't doing very many installs because obviously nobody was getting out in the ice and snow to come in and sign up. But things are looking good so far this month. And that's all I've got. I'll entertain any questions before calling on staff. Yes, sir.
On your charging station that you're doing tomorrow, do you plan to have some kind of public service announcement or any kind of announcement on site? Or are you going to have the newspaper? Somebody maybe from TV could be there to...
We will have a ribbon cutting probably within the next 6 weeks. Public Works is going to do some striping in front of the charger, and then once that's done, we will have a public ribbon cutting at that point. But the charging station will be available, I think, after tomorrow. And EV chargers, it will get out on the network, and it'll be on their network within 24 hours that it's available.
There is a network out there that you can Google
There are multiple networks that
Charging
do that.
stations in Tullahoma.
Correct. You can actually go on Google Maps and say you're driving an EV and you're going from this town to this town, and it'll tell you where to stop and charge along the way. So, all right.
Thanks, Mr. Scott.
I'm gonna call on Brian first. This is his last board meeting.
Wow.
Yeah, Alan asked me to do a state of the system, but I didn't really have much to say about that. I did prepare some words, but I will talk a little bit about the cold. We saw similar loads as what we had last Christmas with Winter Storm Elliott. So we were running right about 71 megawatts. Our all-time peak is 73.5, but that happened in August of 2006, I believe. I'm not sure on that, but so this is certainly a winter load. Winter loads are a little bit easier for us to handle because it's cold and we don't have to worry about equipment heating. We just have to worry about loading and unusual loading, and we really survived the cold very well, except for a couple minor issues, and we did have a substation that was out for a short bit while we had a relay that tripped because it thought it was an abnormal load, but we got that back on within a half hour or so. Other than that, we did have localized problems around town, but for the most part, I think the system worked well. On the fiber system, well, the cold is really not as much a problem as the snow. And so we did have some channels that were temporarily interrupted because we had snow on our big dish. And when you get snow on the dish doesn't perform as well. So we had to routinely, through the snow and through the weekend, keep going out and cleaning and brushing off the dish so we can get the channels back on. But for the most part, I don't think we had any significant channel outages, just some degradation from
It caused
the
some
snow.
buffering a little bit.
Yeah, you'll get a little bit of tiling, fuzzy tiling. Mhm.
Yeah.
So different receivers react differently. Some of them will just black out. Some of them will downgrade to more of a fuzzy picture, and then some of them will tile. So depending on the station and the receiver, does different things. But
And one comment, like when they're cleaning the dish, when they're out there sweeping it, I mean, it'll be a momentary interruption to the signal as they're sweeping
Yeah.
it. You know, different parts of the dishes affect different channels. Yeah.
yeah, because the way that dish works is, it takes the signal from a satellite and it focuses it onto the exact receiver that it needs to go on, because it's kind of aimed just in the right way. And so when you get the broom up there and you're kind of blocking the signal a little bit, you'll get a little bit of degradation for that. So, no, mainly what I wanted to say tonight is, as of this year, I have served TUA for over 20 years. Looking back over the time I have spent with TUA, I am pleased with the accomplishments we have achieved. Nearly all of these achievements have been under the leadership and guidance of Brian Skelton and this board. Together, we have certainly made Tullahoma's utility system one of the best in the country, and I'm proud to have been part of this organization. When I came in 2004, our electric system was struggling with a high outage rate. The system was aging. Our only large bucket truck was a 1973 double bucket. The distribution system automation and stuff wasn't there. Today we have SCADA, good equipment, improved training, high reliability, system automation, and other many system improvements. We have done all this while maintaining some of the lowest electric rates in the valley. Our electric system is in great shape. In 2008, we built the fiber system. Working with our electric crews and Atlantic Engineering, we constructed over 200 miles of fiber connected to a multi-million-dollar head-end. Since construction, we have made numerous improvements to our telecommunications system, including a disaster recovery plan to provide improved resiliency and complete redundancy for our data and our phone operations. Today, we have a record number of customers and boast the highest reliability of any carrier in our market. Our fiber system is in great shape. But of all the accomplishments I can name, the one metric that I'm most pleased with is our safety record. We have great employees, and I've always felt safety was the most important part of my job. Our safety record is not only due to good fortune or good luck. We work tirelessly to train our crews and constantly reinforce best practice with respect to safety with working on the high voltage system and around heavy equipment. This starts with hiring quality crew members and training them for success. Over the past 20 years, we have supervised the near complete turnover of our electric crews and brought on a complete staff for the fiber area. We have excellent employees in both the electric and the fiber systems. I have been so fortunate to work with y'all and truly awesome employees and retirees at TUA. If it weren't for their dedication and talent, we could not have realized these successes. And if it weren't for Brian's leadership and our supportive board members, we would not have the quality system that we have today. For that, I thank you, I thank the employees, the retirees, and the board. With all that said, I'm off to new endeavors. Sincerely wish TUA future successes. Sure has been fun, and I'll miss everyone at TUA.
Okay, who wants to go after that?
All right, sorry, Scott. You gotta follow that.
You're the next retiree.
That's right. Yeah, that's a tough act to follow now, I'll tell you. So I'm going to talk about all the things that have gone wrong.
Gonna be the downer.
Well, as everybody knows, we've had a lot of struggles with the water system. And so if you looked at the news, everybody across the state's having issues. And we've been fortunate in the fact that we've not had serious issues, because I know I've got a stepbrother that lives off Giles County, and he didn't have any water.
Wow.
You know, and when he does get water, they'll be under boil water orders and all that kind of thing. So we've, so far, and hopefully we'll continue, we've managed to avoid all that. To date, if I got the count right, I think we fixed 6 water mains since the storm started. And the thing about water mains is they tend to bust as it warms back up after the cold. So we're kind of expecting to have more. And with all the rain coming in, the leaks are going to be even harder to find. So that's going to be another thing we're going to have to struggle with. Had lots of service lines broken. In addition, people were running water to prevent freezing, which I think you shouldn't have to run as much as a lot of people were, but we understand that nobody wants frozen pipes. But we had a lot of service lines, both on customer side and our side, break, and they're hard to find. Now, the customer side, we can actually look at our metering system and we can locate them, but when they break on our side, we don't have that, and we just have to literally find them, and they've been very difficult to find. We've also had some other devices, backflow preventers that people have broken, meters bursting, and that kind of thing. So it's been a struggle, and it's not only us; it is the other systems we sell to, as Brian mentioned. We can tell by looking at their meter usage that they're losing a lot of water too. So we hope this will, come back, and we'll be in good shape here in a short time. I would say that if anybody out there sees or suspects a leak, please let us know, and we'll get right on it. We had a pre-construction meeting the other day on the Pines subdivision. That's the one off the Country Club. That going to be a very interesting subdivision. Lots of relief, lots of uphills and downhills. Also, have seen plans for the new Farah school. Some preliminary plans. Let's see. Tomorrow we're going to have a TAUD Region 6 meeting here. This is what they're held quarterly. I'm actually the leader for Region 6, and I can't remember. It's probably 7 or 8 counties that are involved in Region 6. And we, like I say, we're going to meet here tomorrow for a lunch and have some presentations. Again, with all the rain coming, there's the potential for flooding, that kind of thing. There's obviously it's going to affect our sewer system. We'll have to be out working on that. Last year, I think y'all remember my new employee Chase Pruitt at the wastewater plant was up here. He had passed the grade 4 wastewater treatment plant exam. We got the pass rates on those tests. The pass rate for the grade 4 was 14.9%. So going down the line, the wastewater 1 was 62.5%. Wastewater plant 2, 27.3. Wastewater plant 3, 29.4. And like I say, the 4, which is the highest grade, was 14.9%. So we're awful proud of Chase, and it is a difficult thing to pass.
Thank you.
Any questions or?
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
Jason.
Thank you.
All right, I don't have have as much to say as Brian and not as much negative stuff as Scott there, but the leak alerts, we've been working those this week. We've had our new crew going out checking meters to see if they are leaking, if they're showing a leak. Hey, customer service, calling customers. We're knocking on doors. I mean, we're really trying to get out there and try to figure out if there are leaks. So our meter crew and our customer service have been busy with that. We've actually, we sent crews in December to Springfield Electric, and we've actually billed them. So we've been working on that. We have to allocate the truck time, employee time. So that's a little bit of an undertaking. And we also sent a crew to Chattanooga, so we're beginning work on that also. Right now we're working on W-2s and 1099s at that time of the year. We just got those completed, and we're glad to have that done. As Brian mentioned, the deposit interest, we've been working on that, and we take the 12-month average, or the lowest bill, highest bill for the customer. So it's a lot of work to pull all those customers' history in and then compare those. So we've been really busy this month, but it's been good. That's all I've got. Any questions?
That's it. Okay. All right. Board members, comments? We'll start with Ms. Stanton.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Just want to thank you, Brian, for your creativity, leadership, ingenuity, all of that 20 years. That's a whole lot to give an organization. We appreciate that. Certainly like to thank all those who are responsible, our employees, for their work during very adverse conditions. Our community is grateful for that, I know. Certainly congratulations to Bradley Zill and Reese Brandon.
Yes.
Join our family. We appreciate the work of our chairman and Mr. Skelton for approaching the board, trying to reason with them. You had a strong argument, and we appreciate the letter you got together for the legislature to consider. And Mr. Chairman, I think that's all I've got.
Thanks, Ms. Stanton. I'm glad you're doing better.
Thank you.
Dr. Blanks?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would also like to thank Brian for his service to TUA and keeping everybody's lights on. And we're jealous that you're getting to retire. Go enjoy, and if we need consult work, maybe we can holler at you on the backside. Also, be remiss if we did not mention the guys that were out working in this cold weather. I don't. I mean, I'm old, but not that old, but I can't remember it being this cold for that period of time with snow down. It's been a few years, but I know they fixed a couple of water main breaks out my way, and then when I was coming here tonight on Jackson Street, the weather was better today to work on that, but if it's cold and you're working on one of those, or if it's raining, it's tough. So thank you for the guys and girls that have to get out in this nasty weather and keep the lights and water coming. So we also, I'd like to thank whoever was responsible for our a meeting that we had last Friday in Manchester, Strategic Planning Committee. I think that was a very good meeting. We're going to finish that up here in the next 3 or 4 weeks. We got through most of it, but not all of it. And reviewing, our mission statement, what we're about, and what we can do better for our customers and also our employees. So whoever got all that together, thank you. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Dr. Blank. Ms. Dean?
Echoing a lot of what you had to say, just thanks to all the employees and crews and all in the adverse conditions that we've had this week. It sounds like it's been 20, 30 years since we've had those conditions, and so that was real challenging. I'm sure it'll take some time to work all that through the system. Thanks to Brian, I haven't known him for very long, but his record is amazing in what he's done for Tullahoma Utilities, and so And yeah, the strategic planning was, I really, really appreciated the strategic planning and look forward to finishing that up. And then looking forward to our policy meeting as well.
Thanks, Ms. Nick. Ms. Norris?
Enough said about Brian. Enough said about those guys keeping their water on and their lights on and freezing cold, but it is appreciated. But my report is usually a little different than what you hear from the rest of the board because, as I've said, I am the representative liaison from the city board to this board.
Exactly.
So I'd like to keep you apprised of what's going on with the city board. And last night was no exception. I'll just bring you some of the things that transpired. One of the things is there were 3 things related to police cars. 2 new vehicles are being purchased through our drug fund that's acquired through the drug department. And then 5 cars are being purchased and outfitted through our normal acquisition plan. We scrapped 1 car that was not fixable. So we've now gotten rid of about 14 cars that were not operable, that had been being paid insurance on, and they're gone. So that's a good thing that's going on in our police department. Our Chase Sons, who's the interim police department manager chief, is doing a good job. Our Jason, we've got too many Jasons around the city, I can tell you that. Jason Quick, our city administrator, has been there he's completed his 6-month period, 3-month period, 90 days. Anyway, he wanted to get a contract with the city. And he took the original contract that was with our former city administrator and did some tweaking. Actually took some things out. I don't think he put anything in. But the board voted to approve him a contract. So he is a contract employee as opposed to just a city employee out of the employee handbook. So that was great for him. Another thing we embarked on last night was to initiate a road infrastructure improvement and maintenance plan. That'll go sort of hand in hand with this road cut policy that we implemented earlier. And so we're looking forward to, this is not an overnight plan, this is a 20-year plan. This is something that we'll budget for every year to identify some specifics. First off, you gotta identify all the problems. When the snow came, I said, great, potholes are filled. But then after the snow goes away,
they go.
more potholes.
More potholes.
So anyway, that was getting that done was a good thing. One other, just a little sideline, is we always have somebody that wants to rezone an issue in town. There's a little place out on one lot out on East Deckard Street that went from a C2 to a C3. And essentially what that allows with C3 is allowed for multi-family dwellings. So you can build a townhome there. So with that. Then we had a study session then last night. With the study session was to consider term limits for boards, for the mayor and aldermen. And it wasn't to establish a term limit, but our council, Mr. Worsham, advised us that we were not able to implement term limits until it was part of our charter.
Right.
So we've had one charter change here we've discussed tonight. It'll be going forward. So we voted last night to pass another resolution, to put another resolution into this General Assembly, Janice and Rush, to allow the board to, let me see if I can get this right, to have in our charter, we have provisions to enact, to ask for a referendum to have a vote, you sit and vote, a referendum to have term limits. Now, that will be what came out of that was that, to get this to the General Assembly as soon as you can and possibly get into this election cycle, we're going to have another, when I say another, we're having too many of these special call meetings next Monday night for a vote to allow this to go forward to the General Assembly with another resolution to put into our charter the provision for enacting an ordinance to have a referendum for term limits. That's about all I got.
Maybe you could just make the special call meetings the regular meetings. And then the Monday night meetings, make them the special call meetings.
We're accepting applications for board members.
All right, thanks, Mayor. Okay, I've got a couple of things. First of all, I'm gonna start with thanking Mr. Cope for his tremendous years of service here. And leadership, your feed-forward knowledge, your vision, and it's amazing. You came in the year after I left the city board, but I can remember TUA for you and Brian, and you know, I think a lot of, and it was all right. I'm not saying it wasn't, but you all have brought a lot of something that needed to be, and I'm very appreciative, and you're going to be missed. And since me telling Mary that she couldn't retire didn't work, I'm not even going to say it to you. But thanks so much. Thanks so much, Brian. I want to thank each of you for being at the strategic management planning session. I do really appreciate each of you and all the input. And again, I'll tell you, and I'm glad we've scheduled the second meeting to finish this thing up, because it's you know, anything like that is only as good as all the members been there. Because again, each member of this board has some knowledge, it's not only knowledge, everybody has knowledge, but different viewpoints. And that's very important, different experiences. And it's very important when you know, we don't need groupthink. We need people with different ideas to make the best product that we can make in any board race. So I really appreciate you all taking your time. I know some of you had to really rearrange it, and we had a hard time finding that exact date where we all can meet. But when we agreed upon it, we did it. And staff, I mean, it's just amazing. And Brian, even though you're retired, you can come to that meeting. Yeah, you can finish your input. All right. So I'm inviting you personally.
Zoom from Florida?
Yeah. Well, might Zoom from Delaware.
Put you on Zoom.
That's right. So, but again, sincerely, and I'm looking forward to the February 16th meeting. Also, I want to, again, you know, I want to say tonight, this board and these members, I appreciate everyone's ability and individual personalities that allow for free input, even if you don't agree with somebody. You know, that's what we're supposed to be able to do. You don't always have to agree, but don't stifle anyone's input. And always seek to understand someone else's point of view. It's hard to do sometimes if you're on the other side of the issue. But it's so important to do that. Be respectful to everyone that has input. So I want to applaud you all, and you know, you might think, why is he applauding? Well, because it's not like that all the time. It's not like that all the time. And so this board, I appreciate the members, I appreciate the input you bring, and I appreciate your ability to be civil about it and listen and seek to understand the other person's viewpoint. Doesn't mean we're going to always agree, but that is very important. Next, again, you know, we honor some employees tonight, new employees. This organization doesn't have a lot of turnover, but like a lot of organizations, we kind of get long in the tooth. Brian's got to go. You know, it's very good to see people always wanting to apply for our jobs. And we take it for granted. It doesn't happen all the time. You know, I know places of business that it's hard to get employees when somebody leaves. So this says a lot about who we are for people to want to come here to work. And also, you know, it just warms my heart every time I see people getting certifications, you know, improving their knowledge, which helps us, which helps our customers, right? And for this organization to keep that ability for the employees to do that. It's awesome. So I appreciate that. And I also want to thank this board for being open to consider another way that we could honor our employees by giving the discounts. And I do remember when this came up a long time ago, and it was like, no. You know, we're in a time and place in American industries where good organizations have to be more conscious about the employees. And we don't want to do it at the risk of you know, hurting the organization or our customers, charging more for our customers. But every time that we can show our employees, because we say it all the time, right? We say it all the time. And I remember, and I'm going to close out, I know it's been a long meeting. I remember, I won't say the organization of it, but AADC, you know, we were I didn't say company.
What was that organization?
It wasn't well, ADC is it's not an organization. Yeah, so I remember we got in this thing about, there was a big movement about, you know, employee appreciation and what it means for leading organization to do this. And you know, the employees want praise. And that's true. You know, you can pay people, but if they don't feel like that you really, really think they're good, you know, and praise them, then the money just don't mean as much. So we got to praising people, but the money didn't come. so we were praising and praising. And after a while, you know, they go, well, how serious are you? You think I'm doing a good job, right? So this one lady, we were in a management session, and we had in the auditorium, and we were telling everybody about, you know, all the accolades that we received, operating ADC and everything. And it was a bad year as far as money. And this one woman stood up, went in the back and says, well, you know what, this is really good, but I tried to buy something at the store and didn't buy me anything with this praise that you give me. so it takes both. So it's good that we do, and we're all sincere about the public and our employees. We tell them how good a job we're doing. We do appreciate it, but it's also good when you can also do something to show them, right? So I want to thank you all for that, and that's all I have tonight. I'm glad to finally, I got so, you know, I haven't played golf in 11 days. You know, I was going, but they closed the course down. But I'm glad to see that I could see my driveway today, totally. That was a great thing. So we do want to thank our employees that have been out there in this, and it's been over a week of this hard, cold weather. I want to thank them sincerely. It's great that all the things that we've done, power stayed on. It's just great. So thanks so much for that. With that, do we have any customer comments? Mr. Leffler, anything?
No, sir.
And I'm sorry, can I get your name again?
Doug Murphy, and I'd just like to say thank you for your support.
Yes, sir.
And I'm looking forward to continuing working with this board and Brian and Scott, and just making sure that this region is going to grow economically with adequate water supply. We've got some really big issues coming up, and it's I want to plan for my grandkids that they've got a good life here, and we can keep building homes and keep growing, and we don't have to stop growth.
Well, Mr. Murphy, I want to thank you, and I'm familiar with the work that you all do. And again, you know, it takes all of us working together to assure that things happen. And that goes the same for you. I want to encourage the city board and this board to try to keep great relationships. These are two very important organizations for this community, and everything that we can do to try to be cohesive and to work together to make Tullahoma the best that it can be is very important. And I'm sorry again, I'd like to ask,
I forgot to introduce my,
I'm
her.
Georgianne Martin. I'm with
Ms.
Del
Martin?
River Agency.
okay.
She's our finance director. She's very important.
Important.
Okay. Do you have any comments or anything?
No, sir, I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Okay, with that, Mr. Skelton?
Thank you, Mr. Northcutt. I just want to, for public notice, February the 16th at 8 o'clock, and the board members have gotten notice and staff that we will have a 2 to 3 hour wrap up of our strategic planning. We'll do it here in the boardroom. It is open to the public. The public cannot participate, but they can listen and watch, but they can't participate. I'd like to reiterate my thanks to Brian Coe, the things that he's done. Brian and I butted heads sometimes over things because we didn't always see eye to eye, but Brian is extremely smart and has extremely good ideas, and he can come back here 25 years from now and say, I had a part in some of the things that's still going on today, because he brought a lot of good ideas to this utility, and I appreciate that, Brian.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
And then lastly, I'm thanked all of our employees, and I'll thank them again for coming in and working in all the snow. But I also want to thank the city employees, especially the people that did the garbage, public works, police, fire. Those people were coming in. I know it was difficult, and they had a hard time dealing with the streets, but how many times do you have a 7-inch snow in Tulalama?
Exactly.
I can't remember one in the 18 years I've been here. And then to compound on top of that, extremely cold freezing temperatures for several days after that. So they've had a tough road to try to go down, and they did their best, and I appreciate them being out. The police department for keeping us safe, the fire department being there in case there's a fire, and everything that Public Works does for us. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Skelton. Well, thank you everyone again, and we are adjourned.